I know for so many of us, it seems so far away, but there will come the day but when we stand before the Lord and He will say, well done, good and faithful servant. We will be rewarded for what we did. And it's easy to focus on like something big. But I also believe that there will be those small things that we just were unaware of the impact that it had, that we just don't realize the reach that it had. And I really believe God would show us so much behind the scenes what happened we were unaware of, that people's lives that were touched, people that were transformed and were impacted. But we also can have this sense of we're just going through life and kind of expecting it to be a byproduct. So we're looking at the scoreboard of our life. Should we examine it? And if so, how do we measure it? Now, it is true. I literally do call it the scoreboard of our life. Because I think we'll get there, and Jesus is not going to just say, well done, a good and faithful servant. He's going to actually show us, look at how your life made this amazing impact. Now, and as I do believe, as we'll see in a moment, that we are supposed to not just examine, but to measure it, as we'll see in a moment. But before we do, I want to talk about some challenges, some things that should challenge us in a positive way, and also understanding each one of us has a unique role to play. So first off, we looked at this recently. Jesus did say that if we believed, we would do greater works than He did. There is an expectation on His part that our lives should be amazing, and not because of something we can accomplish in our strength, because that has no lasting benefit, but that through faith in Him, even those little things, we should apply this amazing faith that even the little things we do would have a massive ripple effect in people's lives. We need to examine, but doing so without being overly critical. You know, so often we get caught up in life and we just go through life, and it is easy to just expect it to be a byproduct, stuff to just happen. But we do need to recognize there should be emphasis. But we also shouldn't be overly critical. It's a fine balance. I talked recently about a really good friend of mine, gifted, talented, anointed, you name it. And he just felt this pressure. He just felt that he wasn't accomplishing enough. And he needed to be reminded that, we are told that one sows, one waters, but it's God who gives the increase. So our role is not to make the results happen. It's just to play our part. And also for us to recognize there can be this sense that that is for the pastor or the evangelist or the missionary. But wherever we are in life, in business, in school, in our family, in church, wherever it may be, God is looking for us to have results. It isn't just delegated to those select ones that are in what we would call formal ministry. But frankly, God is looking for each one of His people, God's chosen people, to have these amazing lives with unbelievable results. We should have this expectation that these things are going to happen. But again, with that understanding that it's not what we can make happen, we can't force it, but it's how we focus our lives. And there is a reward that goes with it. And I do believe God will say, hey, oh, and by the way, here's the things that you applied faith to. Here's the things that you did that may have seemed small at the time. But again, these are the ripple effects. This is the impact that happened behind the scenes that you are completely unaware of. Galatians 6:4 tells us that we are to carefully examine our work. In other words, as opposed to just going through life and expecting it to be a byproduct, we should actually examine our work, but do it with the context of understanding that God gave each one of us an absolutely unique call, a unique gifting, a unique purpose, and that is so much bigger than each one of us. Now, I haven't said it recently, but I want to tell you that God has big plans for each one of His people. And I started saying this to my boys. When my first one was born on Good Friday, I started telling them from the beginning, God has big plans for you, because I wanted him to go through life with this expectation of what was God going to do. And I came to the realization that God has that same plan for each one of his people. When you say yes to Jesus, regardless of your age, your background, your city, doesn't matter, regardless, God has these massive plans, but they're absolutely unique. See, the other mistake we make is we look at other people, and in that trying to do more, do better, whatever, we start to imitate, we start to copy, and God doesn't work that way. God doesn't do cookie cutter. He made you absolutely unique. There's no one else like you, both with your unique background, with the good and the painful that went with it. We all have our challenges, but God uses that. He's also given each one unique gifts, talents, purposes. Why? Because God loves each one of his people so much. He made that plan for them absolutely unique. So when we look at others and we imitate, we sell ourselves short. We're missing out on so much more that he has for us. But I wanted to share this because it does say for us to carefully examine our own work. And why? Well, so that yes, we do get that well done, good and faithful servant when we get to that day. And yes, so that it has such an impact on so many other people's lives. But here's the other side. What you'll find is, as you're focused on that gift, calling, and purpose, the thing God has uniquely for you, that's where you're going to find the most fulfillment, the most satisfaction. Life is its most meaningful. God does things completely backwards to what common sense and the way the world will work. And it's actually through service that we find our true selves. And through service, we find satisfaction and fulfillment.